Well, today we have an exciting event called Bringing Culture Change to America. We have two progressive innovators, Jackie Salit and Joan Blades, and they're here today to share their approaches for producing culture change in the country.
Welcome, everyone. It's really good to have you all here this afternoon. We have a wonderful program with two distinguished guests today. My name is Joyce Datner. I am chair of independentvoice.org, and we are hosting the event today, and very happy to be doing that. I'm also the director of the Light Performance Coaching Center right across the street in the Flood Building. The Coaching Center is part of an international movement whose focus is creating new approaches to human development. So I lead groups at the center where we work to create environments where people can build new kinds of conversations that can move us forward. Independentvoice.org is an association of California independent voters, and we are working to create political change by taking the power away from the parties and putting power in the hands of the voters. We were proponents of the recent redistricting measure and the open primary measure that went into effect this election process, this election cycle. And nationally, we're an affiliate of independentvoting.org, which is a strategy center for the national independent movement. I want to take a moment and thank everyone who made this event possible today, especially our volunteers, and a special shout out to Eunice Stronger, the outreach coordinator for independentvoice.org. And now I'd like to introduce you to our co-moderator, Jason Olson. Jason is the director of independentvoice.org. You can tell I'm very proud of him. Jason and I were among a group of independents who founded independentvoice.org 10 years ago. And he leads our efforts in California to give voice to the 40% of Americans who identify as independents. He serves as a spokesperson for Independent Voice in print, radio, on television, including appearances on CNN and Fox News. Jason Olson.
Well, thank you, Joyce. So a funny thing happened. On Thursday, I sat down to write my opening remarks for this, bringing culture change to America. And I found it really challenging, mostly because in the current political environment, which, as we all know, is headlined by the presidential race this year, there hasn't been a lot of talk about change in particular. So I sat down and I started to write just that. There hasn't been much discussion in the political discourse about change, whether it be cultural, political, or otherwise, when it just so happened that Mitt Romney and President Barack Obama rode into my rescue. So as some of very unlikely duo, don't you think? So I'm sure you saw this in the news. On Thursday, President Obama was giving a speech in which he said that you can't change Washington from the inside. And he went on to say that change happens outside of Washington when it's essentially directed by the American people. And he went on to list a couple of initiatives that he thought showed that, healthcare, et cetera. Well, of course, the Mitt Romney campaign and Mitt Romney himself used that as an opportunity to jump in and say, aha, well, see, that means that President Obama has failed, or he's given up on changing it from the inside, and I'll give him plenty of time to change it from the outside when I win the election, because I'll change Washington from the inside. And has really been kind of a theme in this election. I think within a couple of hours, there happened to surface an interview that Mitt Romney did in 2007 in which he said, oh, you can't change Washington from the inside. Go figure. So today we have two progressive innovators. One's a Democrat and one's an independent. Both are creating new political and cultural ways for Americans to express themselves. And they're here to share their varied histories, perspectives, and approaches for producing culture change in America. So first I'd like to introduce Joan Blades. and I'm going to read this off just to make sure I get it right. First, Joan is a co-founder of livingroomconversations.org, momsrising.org, and moveon.org. She recently co-authored The Custom Fit Workplace, Choose When, Where, and How to Work and Boost Your Bottom Line, which was a winner of a Nautilus Book Award. She also co-authored The Motherhood Manifesto, which won the Ernesta Drinker Ballad Book Prize in 2007. A mediator attorney by training and inclination, she's an entrepreneur, a co-founder of Berkeley Systems, best known for the flying toaster and game You Don't Know Jack. She's a nature lover. She's an artist and true believer in the power of citizens and our need to rebuild respectful civil discourse while embracing our core shared values. Please help me welcome Joan Blades. And we also have Jackie Salit with us today. Jackie Salit is a highly respected political innovator and advocate for the rights of independent voters, now 40% of the American electorate. Jackie has built the largest network of independent leaders and activists in the country. She's the president of independentvoting.org, the country's leading strategy and organizing center for independence, with chapters in 40 states. Jackie was the manager of Michael Bloomberg's 3 New York mayoral campaigns on the Independence Party line, and is the author of Independence Rising, Outsider Movements, Third Parties, and the Struggle for a Post-Partisan America, a new book that explores how independents are not only deciding elections, but pushing the boundaries of politics as usual. Please help me welcome Jackie Salit. Well, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I thought we'd start off by learning a bit more about each one of you. How did each one of you become active in politics? What was really the genesis of that? What's the burning desire?
Well, for me, it started midway in the Clinton impeachment scandal. And I was working on educational software at that time, and I am a mediator by inclination and training, and couldn't stand it to hear any more about the impeachment. So I wrote a 1-sentence petition with my husband. Congress must censure the president and move on to pressing issues facing the nation. We shared it with under 100 of our friends and family, and within a week we had 100,000 people sign that petition. And that was in '98. That was unheard of. And ultimately we had 500,000 people sign that petition. So really, I had no plan to get involved in politics. It was a big mistake. Yet, you have hundreds of thousands of people say, yeah, what are we going to do? We felt a sense of responsibility to figure out what to do with them. And so it was very educational software that I ended up learning a great deal, and still have a great deal more to learn, I'm sure, because I do believe that it is grassroots engagement that makes all the difference in the world. So it's really wonderful to be here with everybody in this room.
Joyce and Jason, thank you very much for organizing this. And I just want to say, Joan, it is such a kick to be doing this together. You're someone who I admire so much.
Well, thank you.
And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. I was thinking actually about Moms Rising and Independence Rising, and I was thinking if we can get the moms and the independents together, we pretty much have the thing sewn up. Becoming an activist, I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was thinking, I realized that an honest answer to that is that I actually, because of how I grew up, I don't remember ever becoming an activist. I came from a very political family, and going to demonstrations and picket lines and marches on Washington and all of that is kind of what I did as a kid. But this one incident came back to me that I just wanted to share, if I might, which to me I think is relevant to what we're talking about today, and relevant to Living Room Conversations, which is one of Joan's projects that we've been very happy to be a part of. I think it was in 1962. I was 9 or 10, and it was summertime. And in the summer, my family we lived in New York City, and we went away to a community called Long Beach out on Long Island, which is kind of a blue-collar, kind of conservative beach community. We rented a house and whatnot. And the summer of 1962, there was a big fight going on in New York City over school desegregation. And we were very involved in this issue. And my mother was very active in education politics and so on and so forth. And I guess I was 9, even younger than you, Jane. And, but I was very gung-ho about this issue. So one day I called a meeting of all the kids in the neighborhood in our living room. And so all the local kids came, not all the kids, but the kids that I used to bike ride with and go to the beach with. There's like maybe 20 or 25 kids. And I gave a talk about the importance of school integration and bringing people together across barriers. The rest of the summer, no one would play with me. This is literally true. So this was my first exposure to the left-right divide and how difficult it is to have a conversation about what's going on and what needs to get built. So I was thinking about this because I thought, oh, well, maybe I was a pioneer of living room conversations, in 1962.
Well, you needed the structure.
No, exactly.
You needed your co-host.
I was waiting.
Yeah. So I'd have made it safe for you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Okay.
right. Well, that's so important, isn't it? Because I went on from there, and as Jason said, to become involved first in community organizing. I was involved in efforts to try and organize a union to represent welfare recipients to win collective bargaining rights. And then that spun off into independent politics and all of what's going on today. But it was always for me about, it wasn't about a set of programmatics. It was about a new kind of process, even before I knew the language of that. So that's how I think about becoming an activist.
And you know what I should add to the Move On story is that initial petition. We had Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party. Mm-hmm. You could love Bill Clinton or hate Bill Clinton and say censure and move on. Yes. It was about stop the polarization and get back to work. It was really only after an election in which the impeachment was, perceived as unpopular by the pundits and many others, that 2 weeks later the House voted to impeach, and we go, here we've just mobilized hundreds of thousands of people for the first time in their lives. Lots of people said, one single mother sent me an email that said, I've never done anything political in my life before. I go to work, I get home, I fix dinner for my kid, I help him with homework, I get into bed. This I can do. Signing that petition was something someone could do to express their frustration. And then 2 weeks later, these people that had stepped up for the first time to really participate, I felt as though the House had thumbed their nose up. So it's only then that we did the We Will Remember campaign, because it's, no you don't. Mm-hmm. So it started in a very unifying space, and the Move On model is all about listening to the member voices. What are the members' priorities? And our job as organizers is to listen well and empower them to work on what the members care the most about. So that, when I say grassroots participation is my passion, it really, a mediator is about empowering people to make their own decisions. And good organizing is also about empowering people to participate and be effective.